Okay, so before I go any further into this, this has been something that's been on my mind for a long time, ever since Rebels. Like, this has been a thing since Rebels and post-Clone Wars. And again, before I go any further, I'd like to state that this is not me dinging Katie Sackhoff. I love her as an actress. It's just, there's been something in the Star Wars story regarding the character of Bo-Katan that I need to talk about. Not about Katie Sackhoff, but as the character of Bo-Katan, and more like what Filoni and Favreau have kind of glossed over. And this is more Filoni than anything else. And Filoni has been known to kind of gloss over a few things here and there. But I felt like this in particular has been pretty much glossed over more than it should, and that is talking about Bo-Katan as a character. And you may be thinking, well, why is that a problem? Why is Bo-Katan as a character bad? It's not so much her as a character, it's more like we haven't really talked about her past as a member of Death Watch. We haven't really gone further into... Yeah, and I know what you're going to say, but they talked about it in Rebels. Yeah, for like 2 minutes. They didn't go too deep into it. I think a lot of people forget of how much pain Bo-Katan... Not only... now, full disclosure, yes, I know it was Vizsla. It was pre-Vizsla who did a lot of that stuff. But remember, Bo-Katan was a willing member in a lot of that shit that went on. Like, a lot of that went on was caused by her and the soldiers loyal to her. She did carry out those orders. And yeah, she questioned it. She didn't stop anything. She didn't really, like, be on the good side until Maul took over. And that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to get at, is that we're not going to talk about her as a terrorist. Like, I think we need to address that Bo-Katan Kryze was a terrorist at one point and killed people, and was not just men, but the women and the children. The members of Death Watch saw them as animals and slaughtered them like animals, and willingly worked with Savage and Maul to take over her sister's throne in a coup. That was like textbook terrorism. That right there has not... And yes, I know, like, they talked about it in Rebels for like a minute. And they did, and Bo-Katan was like, oh, I felt bad about, what I did with Maul. Okay. Can we expand further on that? Oh, we're not? Okay. And I'm not saying, like, they're not going to do that. There's always a chance that maybe now that... And I felt like this was the perfect time to talk about this problem I've had with the character. Because, spoilers for the newest episode of Mandalorian, is that Bo-Katan has been chosen by the Armorer to unite the lost Mandalorians and bring them together, because she says, and I quote, you saw the Mythosaur, therefore you can walk both worlds and bring all of the Mandalorians together. And I was like, are we just not going to talk about the fact that she kind of was the stepping stone into leading to Mandalore's destruction? And again, I know they brought that up in Mandalore, saying that Bo-Katan was a cautionary tale leading to the Empire's fall, but we don't get anything of that. Now, we could, full disclosure, we could get that moment of maybe having, like, someone from another clan talking to Bo when she's talking about, like, we need to unite as a people. And it's like, the last time we did that, not only did you, get our previous leader, your sister, killed, but you also led to the Empire glassing the planet. So I think there needs to be, like, some Mandalorian, and I'm hoping this happens, that maybe someone in one of these clans that are off doing their own thing, one of these wayward clans, are like, hey, Bo, why should we follow you at all? You killed alongside Pre-Vizsla. You willingly went along with his plans to murder our own people and install some kind of extremist view. And let's not forget, you put on a Sith on the throne. You helped him get to power. And then, when you did take power, what'd you do? You got the Empire glassed our planet. And I feel like we haven't had that discussion. I don't know if Filoni wants to, like, overlook that, but I feel like that needs to be talked about. Like, it's something that needs to be discussed and have Bo-Katan kind of come to terms with it. And again, I know Rebels mentioned it, but they didn't go too deep into it. This isn't like something you can just get over in 2 minutes. This needs, like, some discussion. You know, Bo-Katan needs to, like, really look into herself, because it's twice now she's led Mandalore into chaos. Like, twice. Someone's got to be like, I don't want to do this a third time. And maybe you could have that Bo finally learns, or something of that degree. But that's the thing, is that we're not, like, Filoni has this problem, and I've noticed this before in both Rebels, sometimes in Clone Wars, and especially I saw it a lot in Rebels, and I saw it a lot sometimes in Mandalorian. He kind of poses these big, like, ethical questions, and then looks over them. Like, oh, yeah, I'm going to talk about something deep here in the real world, and also talk about some ethics, and moving on to ships blowing up. I get that Filoni has been a credit to the Star Wars community. Not just in animation, but, like, Star Wars on a whole. But even I'm like... And I love the shows, don't get me wrong, and I'm not trying to knock Filoni, but I'm just like, dude, if you're going to do that, you got to go all the way. You can't just pose that question and move on. Or you can't do that to that character without having some blowback to that. That's what I mean with Bo-Katan, is that she was a terrorist. There's no way to get around that. You need to talk about that in full. And also, you need to talk, like realistically, what Mandalorian is going to follow... What Mandalorian is going to see Bo-Katan Kryze, the person who was a high-ranking member of Death Watch, who killed her own people, and like, tried to usurp power from her own sister, and then willingly allowed 2 Sith to take power, and then it led to the events of her sister dying. She takes power after getting the Darksaber, leads to a war, which leads to a war with the Empire, that the Empire just completely trounces on them, and leads to the Mandalorian people to be forever splintered and nomadic. Like, that and I'm not saying they won't talk about it. I'm hoping they do. That's the whole point of this, is that I just want them to have that conversation with Bo-Katan, like, why should any of us follow you? What makes... You are not King Arthur here. You are Mordred at best. That's what I want them to talk about. But I just have this fear that everyone's going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to follow Bo-Katan. You know, oh, Bo-Katan, she's going to, like, wield the Darksaber like Excalibur, and it's all going to be cool. And why are there Star Destroyers again? That's what I'm trying to say. I'm hoping in this season, or maybe 4th, if we don't know. There's still, like, I think 3-4 more episodes, so for all intents and purposes, I could be, like, they could address this next episode, and I will be very happy. Like, maybe they'll address this in the next episode, or the following, or even next season, and this video will be superfluous. I just want to have that, like, people need to understand, like, yeah. And that's always bothered me about Bo, is that, are we just gonna look over all the horrible things she did in Death Watch, and then make her like the King Arthur of these people? Yeah, I don't know. This has just been on my mind for a while, and the latest episode of Mandalorian made me go, you know what? I want to talk about it. So anyway, you guys tell me in the comments below. What do you guys think of Bo-Katan? Do you guys want to see them bring up this subject, or am I just losing my mind? Because this was just a ramble that's been on my mind since Rebels, and I haven't really given it any thought. I just decided after this episode, I was like, I gotta get this off my chest. And again, I will fully acknowledge that, hey, they did the thing I was hoping for if they do it next episode or whatnot. But it's something I feel like needs to be brought back around. Anyway, so hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time in the Multiverse.